Sawadee-ka, it's Natty from the Thaiger, and you're watching Thailand Top Stories, today's major news in Thailand and around the region. Stay tuned for a quick update on the COVID-19 situation here in Thailand, and of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Thai PM Prayut Chan-o-cha has signed off on the entry guidelines for the quarantine-free reopening of Thailand, along with two other announcements on relaxed COVID-19 controls in 17 tourism pilot areas, which are collectively known as the Blue Zone. Meanwhile, the TAT says the country is ready to welcome fully vaccinated foreign visitors from 46 approved countries and territories who may enter the kingdom by air with no quarantine requirements from November 1st onward. They also want to remind people that they can enter if they are from countries not on the list of the 46 countries and territories as long as they are fully vaccinated. Travelers in this category are welcome to choose from 17 Blue Zone or Sandbox destinations. They will spend their first 7 nights within the destination before being able to move on to other parts of Thailand. The TAT says this greatly expands the range of choices from the 4 Sandbox destinations at present. Unvaccinated travelers are still permitted to travel to Thailand after November 1st, but will have to do a full 10 quarantine at an ASQ hotel. Anyone traveling to Thailand after November 1st will need to have a Thailand pass. Their travel documents and vaccine certification will be uploaded digitally, and the government is promising to process all applications within 3 days, a lot faster than the old certification of entry. The government says the Thailand Pass software will be up and running by November 2nd, but they've also promised to honor any COEs that have already been approved. All the latest details on the November 1st reopening are continually updated at thetiger.com. And we're heading into air quality season when the southern monsoon dissipates and the Bruin season starts in the new year. We're being warned about dust pollution heading towards Bangkok and its surrounding provinces from the end of this month. According to a Thai PBS World Report, weather conditions, namely the arrival of high atmospheric pressure, will be ripe for the onset of the PM 2.5 dust pollution running through February. The meteorological department is forecasting that a weak to moderate cold front pushing down from China will likely cover Thailand's northern and northeastern regions up to December. We're being warned about the high potential for the quantity of dust in the atmosphere to exceed safe levels when the front is weakening, in particularly during January and February. In related news, China's capital city is suffering through its worst air pollution since May in the wake of its decision to boost coal production to address a power crunch in China. The concentration of PM 2.5 particles, the most hazardous tiny particulate matter floating in the air, has soared to dangerously high readings. Turning to some happier news, for anyone missing the cooler breeze up in north, good news! Commercial flights to Mae Hong Son are preparing to resume at the start of November after a month-long hiatus brought about by the spread of COVID. Mae Hong Son Airport has announced that in November, the airport will be accommodating returning flights from Bangkok and Chiang Mai. According to Nok Air, passengers entering Mae Hong Son must present evidence of full vaccination against COVID-19 or the results of a COVID test no more than 72 hours old. They must also register on the Sawadee Mae Hong Son contacts tracing platform. Those without the required document will need to enter 14 days of quarantine in accordance with provincial regulations. Turning to Australia, Qantas Airways is gearing up to resume flights from Sydney to Bangkok and Phuket from early next year, as international travel restrictions are gradually being lifted. Sydney is set to see the resumption of regular routes in January, more than 2 months ahead of schedule, as both of the country's federal and state governments are moving to pave the way for the reopening of international borders. The New South Wales government has confirmed that quarantine requirements for fully vaccinated arrivals will be removed from November 1st. But the Australian government says that initial flights will be limited to Australian citizens, permanent residents, and their immediate families and parents. The move comes as vaccination rates continue to climb in Australian states and territories. Myanmar's junta is slamming ASEAN's decision to lock out their political appointee from this week's summit. saying that it was tantamount to denying the country the same rights enjoyed by other member states. The summit starts today. Brunei, as this year's ASEAN chair, has barred Myanmar's junta chief and head of the Burmese army from the summit by extending an invitation to a non-political representative from Myanmar. This was in response to continued efforts by the Burmese military to refuse to implement peace initiatives as demanded by ASEAN back in March this year. Now for our COVID-19 report. COVID-19 infections in the 4 southern border provinces seem to be stabilizing at the moment. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Public Health Anutin Chanvirakul claimed that in the southern border provinces, the number of new infections has started to stabilize, while the number of deaths has a tendency to drop. The minister attributed the improved outlook for the Deep South to vaccine doses that have been sent to the southern border provinces in recent weeks. The CCSA has reported 7,706 new cases of COVID-19 with 66 new deaths and 9,532 released from care within the past 24 hours. And that wraps up the COVID-19 update. For more news on Thailand, go to thethaiger.com or check out our evening news, Thailand News Today. สวัสดีค่ะ